We're going to kick off with Dirk Braune of Alcatel-Lucent talking about breakthrough learning. Over to you, Dirk.
Yeah, thank you very much, Don. And you managed already to pronounce our names correctly, which is, I think, a challenge on its own. I'm based out of Munich. Probably the pronunciation tells you everything that I'm German, but we have also team members from Spain and from Belgium. And one of our Tata colleagues even coming from India, so I think it's really international. I look very much forward to talk with you today about private learning. Let me give you a little bit of my personal background and what we're doing at Alcatel-Lucent University. I'm in the training business since roughly 20 years in different roles and responsibilities. I was teaching, development, project management, in the last 10, 15 years in different management roles, running training centers, running regions. For 5 years, I was managing Genesis University on a global scale. And in the last 2 years, being in Alcatel-Lucent, my focus is really on learning strategies, learning portfolios, and customer training in general. And that's why I'm presenting today, because that's the core activity here, to also focus how we can take what we have internally also to the external side. So in overall, if you look at Alcatel-Lucent University, it's a very big organization. We have a very strong internal demand because we have about 70,000 employees. If you take our organization, we have roughly 600 people in the university, and we manage about 4,000 courses, 45,000 students a year, and roughly 800,000 learning hours. So it's huge in many regards, also for me coming from different other organizations. Before we get started in a private learning environment, let me give you a quick overview about the history of Alcatel-Lucent. Alcatel-Lucent history and timeline. The formation of Alcatel-Lucent in 2006 created the world's first truly global communication solutions provider with the most complete end-to-end portfolio of solutions and services in the industry. The company's roots span 2 continents and encompass 2 early pioneering companies, La Compagnie and the Western Electronic Manufacturing Company. Western Electronic began in 1869 when Elisha Gray and Ennis Barton started a small manufacturing firm based in Cleveland, Ohio. A quick question to you, and Don, do you mind to start the quick poll here? From my quick introduction to Alcatel-Lucent, do you know which of the following statements is true? And let's make a quick poll here. What you can recognize from the Alcatel-Lucent information. Okay. Numbers are changing quickly. I think the majority of you are very British and very kind to me. Because at the end of the day, I personally would expect you have chosen I don't care and I want to leave now. Because this session shouldn't be about lecturing you about Alcatel-Lucent, and it shouldn't be boring at the end of the day. And I appreciate you being so kind to me. Officially, by the way, the third point would be the correct answer. But it's not about that. The key point about why I started this way is that's something we probably all experienced over the years. Being in school, being in different training organizations, quite often it's a top-down teaching, quite often it's a situation where you don't get really a personal touch, something which is relevant to you. And I think the key is really to look how people learn at the end of the day. And you have probably read a lot of studies. I'm coming from a learning background and a psychology background. And typically people learn different ways. And one of the first things is people want to know what's in for them. And everything is depending on motivation. It's depending on if it's interesting to you. You will be able to remember it. Take an example in the brain, the area which is responsible for emotions, the same area which is responsible for memory. So there's a very close and natural link between motivation and learning on the other side. As a second thing which is critical from a learning perspective is communication and connection. If you take the last thousands years of how people have learned, they learned from other people. They learned from communicating to others, learning from experience. And if you take some of the training, what we have done, and some of the way how schools are, unfortunately that's getting lost over the time. And so connecting with people, communicating, sharing is a key criteria for successful learning. Another area is that people need to be able to make their own choices. So instead of it's really an instructor telling you what's necessary, the teacher in school is providing all the information, you have no choices. People need to have choices which are even challenging. If it's too easy, it's getting boring, and the key factor for most people is really getting it as challenging as possible without being completely overwhelmed. And that's the typical approach that they can make better choices than we can make for them. Another point is if you don't have feedback how successful your learning was, it's very difficult to decide what else needs to be done. And often you get the feedback in personal conversations. In business you have even annual reviews and things. In training and in learning you have traditional ways of assessment and certification, but more important is quite often the personal feedback, and then you come back to one-to-one communications, but you have feedback in terms of communities, groups of people who have similar experiences, a similar background. Another area where learning is much more advanced in many regards than it should, as we have it in our often environments. We are very visual in our world, and most of the training we see is just visual. But there are other components. Some people learn really more with audio information. Some people have more kind of a tactile style, touching things, trying things. And only if you have learning capabilities or learning offers which allow people to learn from different styles, you really will reach a maximum. Also, and finally on this one, if you don't have the control about learning, like in a classical classroom style, it's a 6-hour session and breaks are even predefined, the learning won't allow you to go on your own pace. It's either too fast, it's too slow, it doesn't cover what you need, and so it becomes very successful as soon as the learner can take control of the speeds they learn and also how they manage to learn. Do they want to stop, take a break, start at a different time? Some people love to work really early as an early bird. I personally hate it. My time is even after 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And as soon as you have this ability really to learn at different times, then it will become much more successful. Good. And at the end of the day, if you take learning in the classical way, and that's quite often with one size fits all, it's a very old model. And we can see with the Web 2.0 development, social learning, and all the additional points, this approach doesn't fit anymore. It doesn't work. And it's interesting to see how that approach is even breaking people or is at least stopping their advancement. And a very nice example is Albert Einstein. I'm not sure if you know, he had really problems in school, and especially in mathematics. And that's quite surprising if you take his advancements later. He had once the challenge that as a penalty, his mathematics teacher asked him, add all numbers from 1 to 100. And the teacher was obviously assuming it takes forever. And Einstein looked at it. It took him 2 minutes, and he was finished. And the teacher said, impossible, can't take 2 minutes. And he asked how he did calculate it. Instead of saying 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, etc. Einstein said easily, you take 1 plus 100, it's 101. You take 2 plus 99, it's also 101. You do the same for the next 50 couples and as soon, or pairs. And as soon as you have it, you multiply 50 by 101, and you know it's 5050. The interesting part is, in the classical environment, someone like he had no chance, because his way of thinking, his way of learning, his way of approaching things was not accepted. And I had recently a case with my daughter, very similar. She had a different approach, and the teacher was upset. So I think the background here is, in terms of learning, if we can create the opposite of the old model, we create a world where people can share, where they can learn on their own pace, where they have an ability to decide themselves what they learn. It's completely changing in an overall. Okay, so that's about a little bit of the major change we are looking for. And that's a change we're looking at as a company, because we have seen our traditional training, as mentioned, 4,000 classes, 70,000 employees. We couldn't maintain it anymore. And that's the reason why we also looked at a different approach in comparison. And before I talk more about what we did, what we want to do is giving you a first impression. What we have done, and we will start here with a short demo video to get an idea what is MyPLE, my private learner environment, and then we will talk a little bit more what does it encompass and how is it working. Let's see that we get the video up and running.
Yeah, if you go ahead and share your screen and play the video, Dirk, and this is a great time for guys to hit the full screen button, which is at the top of your menu there. If you hit full screen, that should get you to the get to see all of the video. And I can't quite see the video at the moment, Dirk.
It'll be with you in a second. Can you see it?
No. Which window are you in, Dirk? Are you in Carolina's?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. I'm gonna shift things around here quickly, and don't put that one away. I'm gonna. Have you stopped sharing your screen there? Yeah. Okay. You go back to the major screen now, Dirk.
Yeah. Let me. Can you see it now?
No, we had it earlier, and it went.
That's one of the things you tested and it still doesn't work. It's the demonstration effect. Every teacher knows.
Let's try it one more time.
Should I use Carolina's or the one in the middle? I use the one in the middle.
Sorry, yeah, actually we can see. People can see a video frame, and on my client machine. On my presenter machine, I can't see it. On my iPad and my client, I can, so go ahead.
Okay, good. So let's start it and learn more about MyPLE.
What do I want in a learning experience? One that connects to my own career path. One that is relevant to me when I need it. One that allows me to connect and share with others. One that I can access no matter where I am.
Okay.
I want to enjoy learning.
Dirk,
what do I want in a learning experience?
We haven't got the video. I'm going to stop. I'm going to close that down.
Here is MyPLE, where I can find many learning possibilities from Alcatel-Lucent University.
Okay.
As you can see, I have 3 or more areas available to personalize and expand my learning experience. As a product line manager, let me show you some learning options related to my job. MyPLE highlights relevant learning for my job, classes, documents, communities, and experts. MyPLE is personal.
Dirk,
it's my content
if
that
you can hear
matches
me,
my
you need
job
to
profile.
stop the presentation now.
I can test my knowledge in areas related to my job and in other technical topics. Counters are for my own information, so I can measure my progress. I can add as many as I want for each area in which I want to learn more. I've just set up a new counter for communication because I want to learn more about this topic. There are a couple basic level categories under the communications topic. I'll select choosing a communication medium. By clicking the Learn It button, I can access relevant information. Here's a job aid on my topic of interest. MyPLE offers a community of members to collaborate and share knowledge in an informal setting, a social community of professional excellence. MyPLE allows me to increase my competence in domains other than my job, so I can build my knowledge in all my preferred topics.
Okay.
We still have an issue with seeing the video?
Yeah, Dirk, we haven't been able to see the video.
Oh, I'm really sorry. Strange, because you said we can see it.
I'm sorry, we could see the video screen and everyone was ready for it, and I could see on my iPad and my client machine that we could see it, and now we couldn't see it. So, I tell you what.
We skip it.
Exactly. Off you go.
Yeah, and I assume the demo we have a little bit later will work, because it's just sharing an application, so hopefully you get a little bit more. It's probably nice to have the sound, and I saw it in the chat that people feel sound is okay, but the video would be nice to have it in addition. Anyway, so what we try to show with the video, and I can summarize it a little bit also here on the slide so that we replace it. If we take the different objectives you have seen on the previous slides, so one is, for example, learn just what you really need, what's relevant to you. Is one of the objectives for us creating MyPLE for internal purposes first was we have many different job profiles in the company. And for us it was critical to identify for the different people we have what's really relevant. I mentioned we have 4,000 classes, and you can imagine if someone is searching in our learning management system for a topic like IP, he's getting in seconds 100, 150 records, and there's no way to find out what is really relevant. So building here a tool which allows specifically by your job profile, by the community you are part of, to search for relevant content, and then also have that relevant content recommended to you. So it's not only an active part you're searching, but also there's a part you're part of a community, and the community has relevant content for the members. So that was one of the critical things we developed. Another area, connection. And connection here is built with communities which are inside of MyPLE, but they could be also outside. We're connecting if it's something you have in LinkedIn, you have it under YouTube with videos, you're using perhaps internal platforms for social networking. As an example, our company has a tool based on Jive, and what we did is connecting directly MyPLE with Jive in order to have all the existing communities directly linked to the learning objectives and the learning tools we have in place inside of MyPLE. We talked also that learners want to be challenged and they want to make their own choices. And here as an example, at any time in MyPLE, a learner can select themselves which community they want to belong to. And they decide also if there's a list of recommended training, which ones they want to take at which time also. Additionally, reporting and feedback. What was important, and Carolina will show it later on in the demo, we have by community and by topic area the possibility to have a counter. And the counter is nothing else than the summary of all different types of assessments. And assessments could be that you import certification information. Assessments could be that there's really a small kind of exam. It could be that someone in the community is providing a feedback. All that kind of information comes together in an encounter to say, what's your actual level in comparison to the rest of the community? In addition, obviously, any kind of tool needs to provide a lot of statistics and reports. And that's also something we focus on, making sure that we have, on a learner level, a lot of statistics, but then also for communities, companies, organizations, to see what's the actual status quo in comparison to the objectives you have for your organization. Variety of styles. In our case, we have e-learning, we have virtual classroom, physical classroom, we have existing videos. We know our Salesforce, as an example, is using mobile devices. So for us, it was key to make sure we provide the same information in different modalities. And we also combine formal training and informal learning, where you have subject matter experts and you share information. And sometimes it's very informal in terms of it might be an email, might be a telephone conversation. And as soon as you can compress it in anything as a file format, then we can include it into MyPLE as an information link. And that was really one of the success factors internally in our first pilots, that we had very quickly a lot of material and learning information to share. And on the pacing and own control by the learner, as it is cloud-based, it's available on a 24/7. The learner can decide themselves what they want to take. That refers back to the community learning. It's as every learner can decide which community they belong to. They have the full ownership of the content they look at, the exams they're taking, and also at times and how long, etc. You haven't seen the video, but you heard a little bit more about the concept of MyPLE. I would be interested in your feedback to hear, when you look at that kind of approach we're taking, how do you think learners react to MyPLE concept? And as we have limited options here on the phone, let's use the chat, and let's get started a little bit on your ideas, your feedback, and we will provide you also with some feedback we have from other companies and other customers.
And it's interesting, Dirk, isn't it, that we've had a lot of contribution here from people talking about how it's good to do this, and there's a lot of talk about doing it in theory, and I know there's been a lot of blogging about it recently. William Kennedy Long points out that we've had people talking for a while about the need for people to take charge of their own learning, people wanting to take charge of their own learning. But the question for me is, how do we actually get people to do it? You moved from the theoretical to actually practically happening. As Jonathan Vernon points out, the Open University in Britain tried to do something similar with it, are moving towards a MyPLE type approach, because other attempts they've had haven't worked out so well. I noticed that Shock says it could be extremely useful. I'm currently a learner, and it's using e-learning to add on to traditional learning. Jonathan has come back and said that PLE's conception, his use is, and he's got everything online, and is now sharing things through his personal learning environment. And I think William of Tata has got a very good point. The challenge is to make it mainstream rather than owned by the hardcore. In other words, as Moore would say, to jump the chasm, to get from the early adopters and the innovators, get from the innovators to the early adopters. And well, I think Pete sums it up. Ownership's important, but getting people engaged is the challenge. So we've got a problem there with some noise coming in from somewhere. Don't know where. I'm going to have a look and see if I can cut that off. Dirk, do you want to continue with what you found with the PLE at Alcatel-Lucent?
Yeah, sure. And I think all the points you mentioned here from the chat are referring probably to two main areas and two challenges. One is you need to have some kind of a tool and a concept which allows you to deliver it. And then the second is a change in mindset and really engaging people. And so the tool side is probably something we address directly here. What we currently internally address is also how do we motivate inside of the company to move to a complete different approach. And that's probably a good one for the Q&A session later on. But coming to your question, Don, what we have seen ourselves, we asked the question to our pilot users, roughly 500 people, do you think MyPLE will help you to better manage your learning and overall professional development? And you can see with a large majority, 29 very great, 42 to a great extent, people see a clear benefit after using it for roughly 2-3 months already. And we also asked them about, do you believe you can better perform your job? Another 63% said yes. We asked our internal users, do you benefit from it? We had another 72%. So in general, the results are confirming that the approach, as soon as you have an opportunity to use the tool, is well taken and is well accepted. So that's from the user feedback. And I can see in the chat that's also very intensively going further. So I look forward to the Q&A. Let's look a little bit more in detail. And now we're getting to the demo where we want to really show what it is. More than just the video, it is really the live application. And that's the point where Carolina, my colleague from our marketing team, will present you with the main functionalities and how it works, what we have set up to date. We're starting the sharing. I crossed my fingers. This time it works. You test it 5 or 6 times, and then sometimes things are different. Carolina, are you ready?
Yeah.
I can see at least your screen.
Yeah.
Okay, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carolina Olea, and I'm based in Paris. I'm a marketing manager in Alcatel-Lucent University. So I'm going to run a demo of the MyPLE application. I will walk you through the application, and I will show some features so you can experience MyPLE. MyPLE is currently being developed, deployed for our employees in Alcatel-Lucent. And this is what you were going to see. You're going to see the real MyPLE application. And it's going to be available for other companies very soon. When entering MyPLE, you can see these 3 counters. So the first one is the Alcatel-Lucent solution for technical content. Second one is my job counter, where the learner defines his or her profile. So in this example, the user is an instructor. The third one is my expertise, and here the learner chooses among different areas, domains. Then they can want to improve their knowledge. So in this case, we've taken MyPLE. MyPLE is also a topic where we can increase our knowledge about. I'm going to start with the first one. If we click here, HLN stands for High Leverage Network. It's the Alcatel-Lucent solution covering everything IP, optics, wireless, and wireline. So this is basic for Alcatel-Lucent employees to know about this technology. The principle for each topic is that the topic is structured in learning tracks with learning objects that I can learn about, and there are also some quizzes to test the knowledge. So if I pass successfully the quiz, my counter will increase, and this is what we are going to see. I'm not going to launch the Learn It because I have to download the video and it's going to take some time, so I'm going to go directly to the quiz. Okay. My counter was showing 0 before, and now I'm going to answer the questions. So I think this is the good one. The second one is this one. This one. Okay, I'm almost finished. Okay, this one. Okay, and now I can check all my answers were right. I finish the quiz, and I come back to the application. And now the counter of my Alcatel-Lucent solution says 100%. Also, you can notice that my job counter has increased 30%, and it's so, because we consider that an instructor in Alcatel-Lucent needs to have some knowledge on HLN. So the two counters are related. And now, if I click here, I see that I can go to the next level. Because the principle of the levels is that we have 4. First one is aware, second one is informed. So once the aware level is completed, I can pass to the next one, and I will have new learning objects that are going to be shown. Okay, so here you can notice that the counter of my Alcatel-Lucent has decreased to 20%, and it's because once I'm in the second level, the progress I can make is bigger, so there are new learning objects and tests, and when I will pass the quizzes, my counter will increase again. If I click here, I have new solutions, and I have some suggested learning objects. So if I click here, I have new courses that I didn't have before. So for instance, LTE, which is next mobile technology, which is part of the HLN, because now I'm in the second level, I can access to these courses. And the principle is the same. I can learn it, and I can pass quizzes if I click on prove it. But now I'm going to come back to the three counters. I can move to this one, so I can launch some of the videos and some of the learning objects. I think it's interesting that you have a look at them. The first one is a video, and I can launch it. I hope you can see it. Okay, so here we can learn about the future of learning management in comparison with the PLE. So it's some content that is interesting for people wanting to know more about MyPLE. If we click here, we have a different type of content, which is a page in Wikipedia where we can learn about the history of personal learning environments. So we have implemented the links to the internet. We have also uploaded our own content. We have different types of content here. Okay. Something else I wanted to show you is the communities. So here, for the purpose of the demo, we haven't linked the community to our internal social network. We've linked it to our page on Facebook. Okay. So In the communities or the social network pages, the students can initiate virtual discussions, they can get in contact with experts, they can share documents, etc. And the principle of the community is that there's one per topic and per level. So in Alcatel-Lucent we have our internal social network, and here I'm showing you our Facebook page, which is quite recent. We've posted some interesting content on it, including the video that Dirk wanted to show. So if you have an interest in watching it, you can go to this MyPLE page on Facebook, and you will be able to watch the video and also to download the white paper, which presents the concept and the value proposition from the learners. Let me come back to the application again. Okay, so here we can go through another quiz, or maybe I can come back here. Okay, so this is pretty much what I wanted to show you. I don't know if you have any questions. From my side, that's it.
Thank you very much, Carolina. And I think probably the questions we can take with the chat, and then in roughly 5 minutes we can go into the Q&A session. And I can see in the chat I can switch to German, because Stacy has learned German in a PLE environment. But probably I can't assume it automatically for everyone. So let's continue in English. So what the PLE shows is we try to address in the first step our own needs. And our own needs were that for 70,000 employees we have massive training ongoing. Simple compliance training, very technical training on general technologies, but also on our own technologies. And when we saw that we have to bring all together in a single platform, we looked at different tools in the market. We didn't find anything which allowed us really to bring everything together. Then we decided to develop it ourselves. But as you can imagine, as a training organization, your strength is in providing training. So developing content, defining the scope of training, and delivering it, but not automatically in developing tools. So we decided to scope it ourselves, but use partnerships we have as Alcatel-Lucent to develop the tool for us. And in this particular case, we were using Tata. And we have now Milind from Tata, who can talk a little bit more about what's the technology in the background of MyPLE. How did we really implement it from that perspective? Milind, are you ready to go?
Yes, thanks a lot, Dirk, for the introduction.
Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Good.
Don, can you pass the control to me?
I can build it up for you.
Thanks a lot. Tata Interactive Systems has designed this platform as a learning ecosystem with MyPLE-based application framework, which is actually a PHP-based application at the center of it. Content management, learning management, digital media asset delivery, proof of competence, that is the quiz that you saw just now. All these applications are integrated with the main PLE application cohesively. Application integration has been done using a proven SOA or a service-based architecture framework, and thus any of these pieces can be easily moved, replaced, or additional components can be easily plugged into the architecture. Basically, it's a very scalable and a robust technology platform. Moving ahead, in the current scenario, rapid changes in technology is a given thing. So organizations need to be agile in blending their products and services to meet the new requirements and basically leverage what technology has to offer. MyPLE platform has been developed with these things in mind to embrace changes in requirements and also to adapt to the changing technologies or the innovations in the technologies. A good example would be that the entire design has been developed on the principles of responsive design to support not only variations in say current smartphone or mobile based devices or different desktop screen resolutions, but also to support different devices and resolutions that will come up in future to make the platform completely device or resolution agnostic. The solid platform and flexible design that I talked about has laid out a solid foundation for building rich features and functionalities. MyPLE provides a completely personalized experience by implementing adaptive learning principles. So in the live demo that you just saw, basically the quizzes determine the suggested learning, and based on your job or based on your needs, you automatically get associated with different communities, which helps you to do a focused or a relevant learning. How all these things have been done is through a taxonomy and intelligent engine which determines the relevance of the content during the search and also during the learning experience. The platform also offers features such as collaborative development, communication to engage and motivate learners, which is very important from a personalized learning environment perspective. Finally, MyPLE is based on principles of student-centric model, which means engagement, motivation, retention of learners' interests are absolutely critical success factors. So to do that, MyPLE amalgamates adaptive and ubiquitous learning to create an immersive and intuitive learning experience. A personalized dashboard depicting meters, which you saw just now, representing progress in communities. Quick and easy access to launch learning objects, intuitive and intelligent search makes all this possible in MyPLE system. So Tata Interactive System has tried to bring a perfect blend of robust and scalable architecture and user-centric design to bring the vision into reality, and it will continue to do so in its upcoming iterations. So there are planned UI changes and planned additional functionality that are already scheduled in the next iterations. So basically we have, you saw there is a vision, you saw an existing live demo of the application. I spoke a little bit about what has gone behind the development of the application. So now is the time to take a look at where we go from here. So over to you, Dirk.
Yeah, thank you very much, Milind, and I think it's a great segue really to talk what's currently happening and in which direction we continue to develop. We have currently a couple of hundred people using it internally, and starting off January 1st, we will bring our complete company on MyPLE. So we're looking at testing it, testing in brackets, with 70,000 people across really different topics, different job roles, different functionalities, and that will allow us to see really from a bandwidth perspective, from a robustness, if you use such a tool on such a large scale, if everything is as you expect. And obviously it's an ongoing development, because quite often with any kind of software you will have changes. And for us, the next almost natural step is then to move what we have today as an in-house implementation into the cloud. And fortunately enough, as a company, we offer anyway cloud solutions. So we will put the MyPLE environment completely into the cloud. Some of it is already for testing, it's running. And with the cloud possibility, then everything becomes easier because you have no installation, you have no administration of hardware and software, no additional maintenance support is necessary. So the typical things you have as an advantage from a cloud-based model, that's something we need also ourselves to minimize it really from an administration standpoint. And starting mid of 2013, as soon as we really have completely tested it internally, used it for half a year, then we are planning also to have customers on MyPLE. We have naturally a lot of Alcatel-Lucent customers, but it's not only supposed to be in the space of our current customers, it's generally available, probably in the time frame July 2013. So that's a little bit about what's the time scales and what are our plans coming up very soon. And now I think it's a great time to look more what kind of questions you had here in the chat. And I have also a couple of potential questions here. By the way, you find below on the slide my personal email address if you have any questions, and also our major connection via Facebook. Don, do we have any particular interesting questions you want to raise? Or?
Of course, we do. And thanks very much for that. And I think very interesting to see how people are really putting the theory of this business of personalized learning into practice. First question on existing tools. Anna Sasiak asked about what would happen when people might already be using, for example, a community for being in touch with other people, or they're already blogging about things. Do they have to come and do that work on the PLE, or is it possible to link through, as we saw in Carolina's presentation, to external networking sites? How much do people have to give up what they've already got if they're doing their sharing and their blogging on the PLE?
Yeah. We had exactly the same concern as she had, because in our company we're using Engage, what you saw in that presentation, which is Jive-based, and we didn't want to stop it, because as soon as you have 2, 3, 4 platforms, suddenly you will see a decrease in activity, because everybody is struggling where to put it. So the main concept of MyPLE is to connect to existing platforms. Instead of building a new community, we are leveraging communities, and not only communities, by the way, we are leveraging if you have existing certification data, if you have existing content in different learning management systems. So it's more bringing all these information together and making sure that you have the right links, so that you're not linking to 2 or 3 different communities if it's not relevant to the company or to the individual.
And to follow up from that one, I'm pleased you say that, because I do feel we are in danger very often of reinventing the wheel with these systems. Juan said, well, look, a lot of this looks like stuff you could get from a regular LMS, but this business of linking out and not being the repository, but being a jumping off point is, I guess, one of the things that makes what you're doing different from a regular LMS.
Yeah, correct. So as an example, we are using Saba as a learning management system, probably one of the most common LMS systems in the market. And what we saw with Saba is we're lacking several functionalities, and really in particular with learner-centric approach. If today we have one of our employees going into Saba and they do any kind of searches, it's a nightmare. It's so complex from a user interface, plus in addition that the results you're receiving are not structured enough in order. And then take the combination with communities, take the combination with assessments and certification. That's all missing. So quite often, in order to replicate it, you would need a learning management system, you would need a learning platform on top of it, you need a social learning tool, you need a certification tool, and then suddenly it becomes complex. And that was what we investigated first, can we buy it? And then we decided, no, we have to do it on our own.
Very good. And I think one should always look at the possibility of buying something before trying to do it by yourself, because trying to build things yourself is often quite hard work. A couple of technical questions which I think actually have already been answered by Eddie. Now, what about impact? A very important question from Stacey. She said, well, okay, I agree the PLE will help improve the learning experience, but do you find it's having a notable improvement in working practice? So are we actually affecting the behavior of people as well as just improving how they learn?
I think that's probably the big question for everyone in learning. If you take the Kirkpatrick model and you look at the level 3 or 4, or if you have the key question as a leader of a training organization, can I prove any kind of ROI of training? So what it doesn't resolve automatically, what you still have to do is you have to have the discussions with your stakeholders in the company. Mm-hmm. What are the expectations? So what needs to be impacted? Take an example. If you have a strategic initiative about growing your revenue stream by getting your salespeople on a new product. Obviously, that's something you can strongly support, and that's where MyPLE can put a continued measurement as an example. But if you're not clear what you try to achieve, and you put from the beginning the metrics in place, and you agree with your key stakeholders, the tool on its own won't address it completely. So from that perspective, I think the strategic discussions are still extremely important so that you have an alignment between your training organization and the rest of the company.
And that's a point very close to my heart, Dirk, the idea that somehow technology prevents us from having to do our jobs of finding business impact. It doesn't, no. Stacey's right. What we need to do is to make sure that we are making sure that what we're doing is engaged with the business and is supporting those business aims. I guess apart from anything else, Dirk, at the moment it's probably a bit early to tell whether we've had any impact, and I look forward to being able to see in the future whether there are some things you can say, we changed this and we made this better in the PLE, and that did have an effect, we believe, down the line. It is, of course, always difficult to isolate certain factors, particular factors from behavior and performance. Engagement. Lynn and Peter asked questions both, and Will Chadwick made a good point as well. Lynn said, do the organizational leaders use MyPLE? If they don't, why will the employees think that they should? Will said the challenge is always to become mainstream rather than just owned by a hardcore learner, to jump into, well, the ambitious target you have, Will, Dirk, of getting everybody to use it. And Pete said ownership's important, but getting people engaged is the real challenge. So I know you had that great graph at the beginning saying that things were very, people were very positive about it. Have you had difficulty getting people engaged?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another, I think, very common discussion in training between using the stick and the carrot. Because on one side, take an example, compliance training. In our company, there's a certain amount of training everyone has to take. And that's quite frequently on an annual basis. In some ways, that's almost like the stick, because that's one way of introducing something, and most people hate it because quite often it's very quickly done, it's text orientated, and it's mandatory. It's against the way people want to learn. So one way of introducing it, if you make suddenly the compliance training much more interesting and you bring it on this platform, you have at least everyone using it, and it can make a first different impression. So that's one way. The second is what we started with were what we called friendly users. So instead of rolling it out immediately to everyone, we looked at people who have kind of a mindset already to start with it. And then you have to look a little bit inside of that group. Do you find friendly users who have also kind of a close link to stakeholders? As mentioned before from the chat, you need to get the management, in best case, your top executives involved. I remember when John Chambers from Cisco and Tom Kelly, his VP of training, Tom was able to convince John as the CEO to make training a top priority of the company. That's, I think, one of our toughest things to do as a training organization. But here the way to do it is a little bit from bottom up. If you get as friendly users people who can influence your top management, you see the first thing that you get more and more of these support.
You're absolutely right, Dirk. This idea of making sure that you start small with a coherent group of people, learn from them, but they become then your apostles going out into the organization and really making the great case on your behalf rather than it always coming from the learning and development department. There are a couple of questions we haven't handled, but I see that we have got to 1 o'clock. I just want to hit the very last one here. If there's a quick technical answer for it, perhaps Eddie, you can answer it, or perhaps, I don't know, Dirk, you can. Mark is saying that they offer a cloud-based platform, and he says what you were saying, the technology is not by itself enough. But he's asking, why did you choose Jive? Oh, and sorry, Eddie has just answered it. He's come out with a very comprehensive answer. Eddie, I won't even bother asking the question now. I'll just go straight forward to wrapping up. So, guys, thanks very much for your participation here and for chipping in with your questions. And let me just go through to wrapping up the presentation for today. Hashtag for the session is #LSG webinar. I think we've learned a lot there about some of the realities of PLEs, and everyone's talking about them, but actually also the fact that it can be done. It's possible to make it a reality, even in an organization as large as Alcatel-Lucent. Yes, I have to say what I always say, which is that the recording, web chat, and slides will be available afterwards. They won't be available tomorrow morning, but probably it should all